Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Love Human Be Spirit. As always, we are so excited to be here today, and you are in for a very special treat today. Before I announce our amazing guest, I want to hear how you're doing, my beautiful co-host. How are you today, Monique?
I am doing wonderful. I'm super excited about today's conversation. You know how I be. My four line is excited to connect with people that feel good. And this is a human that, we already knew of, someone that's been in the human design space for a long time, and then got to meet in person this year. So and got to, share stage with, and we just had a really amazing experience. So I'm excited about today.
Dun, 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 dun. So today, our special guest is none other than the beautiful Karen Curry Parker. We are beyond blessed to have you on today. And for our listeners, I don't even feel like there has to be an introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is our show. Um, she is internationally known as the founder and creator of Quantum Human Design. She is a best-selling author, a speaker, a coach, a creator. And she's really here. And you know what? I'm not going to speak for you, but I am going to read what I found. She is here to teach you how to consciously use language and narrative to increase your vitality and well-being. I'm like, if we don't all need that, then we are all lying to ourselves. So, Karen, we are so happy to have you here today. As Monique said, we were so blessed to meet you at the High Desert Human Design Conference in Santa Fe in September of this year. And you graciously agreed to be on our podcast. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Please share whatever you feel called to share about yourself for our listeners.
No. Oh, just like that.
Just like that. That's how we do it.
Well, first of all, I would say I had such a blast in Santa Fe and getting to meet you all and having a really fun conversation on stage with you guys. So I feel really excited to be here. And I love it when we interject zest and joy into human design because I do think sometimes we take it very seriously. And I think being human is really just not that serious. Um, or if you're taking it really seriously, let me just encourage you to think about looking at the other side of that coin because it's way more fun on the other side of the coin. Um,
Mm.
you know, I don't know what to say about myself. I don't have a defined will. I just like I'm here. I would say I'll say I feel really grateful this year. This is my 25th year of being in the human design world. And it was a really sort of profoundly full circle year in a lot of ways. I reconnected with people in the human design community that I hadn't spoken to in about 20, 25 years. Um, and got to see, new people in human design and just continue to notice and appreciate how exciting it is to watch people wake up to their authentic self. Because I don't, after looking at thousands of charts after 25 years, I don't think there's an ugly human on the planet, at least by design. And I always think every chart is cool and every human embodying the chart is cool. And it's always a really exciting experience. It's a privilege to do this work.
Oh, so beautifully said.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can hardly contain myself. I have so many thoughts as you're both talking. Okay, first of all, we didn't say Karen's design, Amy. Hello, community listeners. Karen is a 4-6 pure manifesting generator. I'm sure that's pretty well known. Again, this is somebody that's like your charts out there, and I think people know your design a bit more. But we're always excited to have somebody that's different than us, especially on our program, because we speak a lot from our perspective, of course. Being a manifestor and a projector is quite the different journey than being a sacral. And we love the, having the opportunity for us to expand on how we can perceive things, but also for our listeners. And already dropping a whole bunch of wisdom. Like we're not even like 5 seconds in yet, but this whole serious versus fun thing is just something that, man, oh man, that comes up so often because human design is such a heady system.
Mhm.
And especially as projectors, we start learning and then we're so like brilliant and we're getting all the information and we're looking at all the charts, we're doing all the things. And it's like 2 years before we can really start like actually experimenting with our own stuff. At least it was for me, more or less,
Mhm,
give or take.
mhm,
And so, and there's so much to be learned just from that, taking this with a little bit more fun and a
mhm.
little less serious because gosh, I joke a lot, we're so smart, we are so smart as a species, but like God, we're so smart. It's detrimental sometimes to our own good because we're such in our heads about it. And it's like we're humans. Being human is a silly thing, you guys.
It
Like
is
it is a
hilarious.
silly thing. Think of all
It
the
is.
silly human things, right? That our bodies do. Like think about a burp or like a fart. Like being human is silly. Point period blank. I'm sorry. It
Well,
is.
and be, I think if we look at it through the lens of human design, I mean, we have all this potential, right, in our chart, all of this like unlimited capacity and potential. And most of us are just hanging out in our spleen going, it's so scary. I'm so scared. And it's like, get out of the spleen and just go other places in the chart, right?
Yeah, good one. Good point. The spleen's another topic that's been coming up so much in a lot of my communities lately. And I think this element of fear and just where we're at as a collective and all of these themes that are coming up, I think it's really, we just went through the sun just transited all those splenic gates
Right.
recently. There's all this spleen talk lately, but um yeah, and so one of the other things that I get really excited about when I think of you is I follow you on Instagram, and I recently you shared posts both about your projector daughter
Mm-hmm.
and about your projector ex. And
Mm-hmm.
so I love a sacral that can see us non-sacrals and give us something. Like this is just such a theme for me. Whenever I hear a sacral being speak in a way that makes me feel seen in a way that I didn't get like as a kid. And I'm also a mom to a projector. I'm a projector raising a projector.
Mm.
And there's just so much healing that happens. Like I don't even mean for it to happen, but like it's happening all the time in this world for me as I'm deconditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so powerful and supportive and helpful for me when I hear a sacral person that's like aware of like the actual difference that we're talking about here
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
terms of energy. Like and I'm good. I'm sorry, Amy, that I'm leaving the manifestors out right now, but I am because this is a one-on-one thing. Okay, for my projector ass right now because
We're
it's just
left out all the time. It's fine.
you're so used to it. You're fine. No, I'm just kidding. We can talk about it being both. Amy and I are very passionate about the non-sacral experience. We just launched our first program together, and it's
Uh-huh.
called Deep Dive. It's called Seeing Yourself as a Non-Sacral. You heard our talk at the conference or heard about it. It was deconditioning as a non-sacral. So these themes come up a lot for us. And for me, as a projector, I call us, we're like the baby types. We're like the babies. I have like what I call these baby projector days where it's like, I just can't today with the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everything is too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
System is overwhelmed, need to stay in my bed away from other humans. And that's not understood across the board
Right.
yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And my mom, I'm so lucky. Ask Amy, ask anyone that knows my mom is wonderful. I won one of the best like mom cards in the deck of mom cards. She's fantastic. She's everyone's mom, and she's a great mother, and I couldn't have asked for a better mother. And she's a sacral. She's a
Mm-hmm.
sacral with a defined root. I am none of those things. And so there's been so much of this unlearning for me and relearning of self. And while I'm raising my projector kid, so hearing you speak about your projector daughter in the way that you do, and hearing you even speak about your ex in the way that you did, was just really impactful for me. And so I don't know that I have a question at the end of this. I feel like maybe Amy, you want to help me formulate a question, or Karen, say what you want here, but I just would love for more here. I want more.
Well, I'll add a comment
Okay.
because I think it's universal to the deconditioning experience that and there's sort of an arc to the deconditioning experience. And you start off first in your journey and you decondition your own experience. And it's almost like you go kind of around and around, a season and a cycle of deconditioning, and you go all the way through all of it again and again and again. And I would say there's a certain arc in that deconditioning journey where you start to decondition the cultural narrative, and that means not just your own part of the story in the cultural narrative, but the narrative itself. And I just have to say something because I know I'm supposed to be funny, but this is actually a serious thing I want to talk about for a second, because something came up in the comments on those two Instagram posts that really, like, I'm going to probably make another video in response to it because it really bothered me a lot. And it's a comment that I hear a lot, that I know the source of the comment. I know it was Ra. I know Ra said this. And so I'll say I'm going to the mat with Ra's ghost here for a minute. Ra said at one point, people with an open sacral should never have children. And I don't know why that one sentence has gained so much traction in the human design world. It's like, okay, time out. You can't teach a system about finding your own inner authority and then tell people you can't have children. That doesn't work, right? And so we always have to remember that the things that Ross said sometimes, remember he had the 2551. He loved his 51 so much. Like he liked to say things like that. It was fun for him to shock people that way. And somebody came back and posted under the video that I made about my ex-husband saying, this is why Ross says projectors should never have children. And I am still heartbroken over that comment because first of all, let me just say that my ex-husband is one of my closest friends. I love him dearly. And we remain good. I mean, a fourth line, we remain good friends forever. Right. And so, and I think about this man loves his children so much he would die for his children. He loves his children. And if you think he loves his children, you should see how much he loves his grandchildren. And to say to him, even in a comment on Instagram, to in any way imply that this man shouldn't have been a father because we didn't know how to manage energy at that point. And he didn't. He didn't know. He had a whole lifetime of not being seen and heard and not knowing how to regulate his energy as a no motors projector. That was the problem. It wasn't that he was a father that was the problem. It was the fact that he was still deconditioning in an environment where he was constantly being reconditioned with his open sacral, and it was really hard. And to take that away from him would have, I mean, and to say you shouldn't have done this would be the greatest tragedy in the world. And I, when we're in that third, fourth, fifth cycle of deconditioning, we have to decondition our own understanding of human design. And we have to decondition the stories we tell about what's the cultural norm. And I think part of the point that I really wanted to make was that the greatest work I think that my ex-husband and I have done in our relationship is that we let go of the cultural norm around this is what divorce should look like. This is what child support payment should look like. This is how the custody agreement should work. We had to go, okay, wait, time out. None of this is going to work for us, nor is it going to work for the kids, right? If we had been splitting households and they were going to his house and he had to maintain his own house, it never would have worked at the point where he was at that point in time in his deconditioning process. He would not have been able to do that. And for us to say, okay, let's structure this in a way that works for us. And yeah, it looked unfair. My parents thought it was wildly unfair that I had the kids full time and I did not get child support because he couldn't work at that point in time. And I literally ran the household, did all the money, did most of the child rearing, and he got to bop in and out as he needed. They thought that was wildly unfair, and maybe it is, but it made sense energetically, and it worked for us, which is really the only thing that should matter. It worked for us. So let's take these rules out of, and put them into context of some of the stuff that Ross said, he said for sport. And let's also say that some of it, you have to really take a step back and really think about it in the context of the whole. We need to be deconditioning every aspect of ourselves, not just our open centers. We need to decondition all those places where we shut ourselves down from our definition, where we've repressed, suppressed, denied access to our true selves. We need to decondition the cultural narrative. We need to condition our tribal narratives. We need to decondition all of it, because ultimately the job right now on the planet, as we come out across the planet and move into across the sleeping phoenix, is to wake up to the sovereignty we have over our own narrative.
I'm like, mic drop.
Yeah, I think we should just end it there. Just wrap it up. That was so needed to be said, and thank you for
Yes.
saying that. And thank you for saying it how you said it. There's so many things you said there too. As a person that is, Amy and I are both divorced moms, actually, now that I'm saying it. So, and my daughter's younger, she's 10, but as somebody that is in the throes of figuring out how to co-parent with an ex and doing that in a way that makes sense for us, it's just really refreshing to hear people like yourself speak on that and speak about it honestly, and about And that is the bottom line. I mean, my design sun gate is 15, and there's just like this
Mm.
deep love of diver. I'm a vessel of love. I just don't think there's any point in doing this unless we're learning from each other's differentnesses and allowing each other to be who we are. There's just, I don't know, there's just so much to be learned in diversity, and that there are different ways to do the same thing.
Mhm.
And it's just it just feels so beautiful to hear that. And I mean, let's be real. Ra was a man too, saying this about projectors or non-state girls shouldn't have kids. Like, like there's just a difference right there. If Ra had been a woman, maybe that would sentence would have came out different. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, and I think we have to remember that, when Ross started his human design journey, he was heavily conditioned. I mean, he left his car running in the middle of the road and abandoned his family in the beginning because he couldn't do it anymore. I mean, that's how profound his internal alarm system was going off. And I think, and I don't know a lot about his personal life towards the end of his life, but I think he made peace with his kids later on in life, and I think had a very close relationship with his children. And I can only imagine that there was a part of him that probably was brokenhearted over feeling like he couldn't do anything else but to say, I gotta go. I can't. And what does that part bring into his story? And how do we look at that story with
Mhm.
awareness and also compassion? Because that's a beautiful part of the story I think we don't talk about a lot. And I think sometimes we don't see Ra's pain in his own conditioned expression of his not self, and
Mhm.
how sometimes I think, he had to work with that not a super public way in a lot of ways, but had to work that out in front of everybody who knew the story.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm just so grateful for all the things that you just shared as a manifestor parent myself, raising them on my own for the last 15 years, which has not been easy. There are times where I, the truth is, and man, this is going to suck to say out loud, but it is my truth. I could have left the car running.
Mhm.
It's like, holy shit.
Honey, I'm a manifesting generator and I could have left the car running, okay? Because it's hard. It's
Oh,
really hard. And
it's
yeah.
yeah. And I think you said so many important things there. Monique and I, when we started this journey, first independently, and then we, found each other and it was magic. But, we were feeling a lot of things. And then when we came together, it just really, really amplified and accelerated in all the beautiful ways, the understanding of this system, because we had each other, nearly every day to bounce this information off of. And it makes us let go of judgments, not only of ourselves, but of others. And I'm 51, and I've never had anything more powerful and potent give me that licensure to say, you know what, I don't want to feel that way anymore. I don't want to judge. And I transcended that to deep compassion for what I get to witness. And
Mhm.
whenever I see someone's design come through without even seeing their chart, right? We do that. Now it's like I can grow them down to their little 3-year-old self before I see that conditioning occurring and seeing the needs that weren't met, and then how they had learned to survive, based on
Mhm.
what the needs that
Mhm.
weren't met. And
Mhm.
I just think design offers you a way to look into, you know, what they could be, where that potential is. And, as you were sharing, like we have so many cycles of deconditioning. I was reflecting on my own deconditioning journey, and I think I just dove headfirst in helping others decondition. It's like, I'll just put a pin in mine. I'm good.
Right?
By the way, I wasn't good and I'm still not great. Like that's part of this. I think I'm kind of like sitting and spinning in my divine solar plexus. I'm a 36.3 sun.
Mhm.
So, there's just a lot of like emotional volatility that, goes on the regular. And yeah, I'm so grateful for this system. I'm incredibly grateful for my beautiful co-host, Monique. And I just think there's a way that you can spin this information, but you said it so beautifully about Ra. He delivered this information that was channeled to him through his own conditioning. It was through his filter of that. And I heard this said at the conference and I thought it was just, and I'm going to just paraphrase, but it's like the work isn't done just because,
No.
it was never done. It was and so we get to continue the story. And that's what I'm hearing in this conversation. We're really offering an enlightening way to look at the
Mhm.
deconditioning process
Mhm.
and take this to the next level. It's not that he said this, so it must be that. I'm never going to live in that land.
Well,
That's not for
that
me.
it's against the system. You can't, and to me, it's the conundrum of the system, right? You have a system that says you get to follow your own inner authority, but you have to follow these rules, right? That doesn't make sense. Like you can't liberate people and then tell them, yeah, but if you're not doing it right, like what's right? Who decides what's right? There's no right. There's only your own inner authority. And so I think it really gives the system itself an in sort of inner conundrum, right? You have to really go, okay, here's the system. It's teaching me to find my own inner authority. And it's correct, even if you go, you know what, the system is bunk and you walk away because you're like, I don't know, right? If that's your genuine response, that's correct by human design, right? And it's certainly the thing that I've always grappled with personally in my own journey with human design. And I've had over the years, as I'm sure you probably know, lots and lots of people have told me I got it wrong. And lots of people have had questions about why did I leave traditional human design? And the only answer I can give you is my sacral. One day I went to the office and stuff was happening in the office, and my sacral was like, done, right? I was totally correct in leaving. And so what do I do? If my sacral was like, I can't do this anymore, I was following the system. And I will stand by that forever. That I was actually very correct in my approach. And I don't want it to be about me and my journey because it's like, who cares?
We
But I
care.
think, but no, I mean, it's like, I think that that's a piece though we have to talk about for everyone, that it's a system to help you take back sovereignty over your own journey. And
Yes.
if it doesn't fit the pedagogy, but it's right for you, and it's not hurting anybody else, I mean, I think that has to be a secondary caveat, then by God, go do you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I loved how you said that it was correct. And I wanted to keep saying at the end when you said that for you, because
Mhm.
that's what's beautiful about this system too. It's the uniqueness that we offer, which is aligned for us. And guess what? Monique's system is different and mine is different. And all of that is
Exactly.
beautiful. And we all get to be
Exactly.
accepted. And I'm tired of being lumped into any category of any type about how I should be showing up in the world.
Yeah.
That pisses me off. I'll show up exactly as I fucking choose to. And if you don't like it, you can get out of my way. If you do, then you can get on board and see what you can uncover for yourself. But aside from those two things, it's a system that is meant to serve us in a really, really profound way. And that's what I feel like I am witnessing you sharing that it
Mhm.
has done and has continued to do, which is just unbelievably beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. Well, and I think it's, you said something, and I'm going to be like wildly paraphrasing that, the system's not done. And I think that I love the way you said that, because the system itself, I think about this a lot when I don't have this experience as much anymore, but when I first started teaching, I had my students come back and they would be like, I dreamed about human design all night long. Like the body graph was talking to me. And I have always felt like the body graph is a living entity itself. Okay, I'll share a weird story about it. So I have many times over the years, I've thought about quitting human design, especially like 2007, 2008, nobody where I was living and where I was teaching, I would start teaching human design and people would be like, excuse me, what's a chakra? Right. And I'd have to go all the way back to the beginning and be like, okay, this, it was frustrating. And, I just really, there wasn't the traction that we have now. And so, in those days, it was hard to make money. I was a full-time single parent, as you know. So it was like, I got to feed babies and I hate this. I hate human design. I was like, I really had cycles where I really was like, this is dumb. Why am I doing this? I feel like I'm in a box. Um, and every time I tried to quit, I would have dreams about the chart, and literally the chart would talk to me. And I would be like, stop, go away, and I'd try to quit. and I would have experiences with triangles, which was hilarious. So one time I was like, I'm done going back to school. I'm gonna go get my nursing license back because I had let my nursing license lapse. I'm just gonna go be a nurse. I'm just gonna deliver babies. I'm gonna be happy delivering babies. And I moved into this new house, and I look out the back window, and I kid you not, there is a this big, like I'm like 3 foot high, blue triangle, wooden triangle in the backyard. It's like just it's not a piece of construction. It's like a wooden placard that's just a triangle. I'm like, fuck you, human design. I don't want to do it anymore. I took the dog for a walk. First time I'm going for a walk in this brand new house. At the end of this cul-de-sac, there's a garden. And the name of the garden is the Triangle Garden. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Fine. I'll keep doing human design. I went through a cycle. Actually, like when I got back from Santa Fe, I was like, maybe I'm complete with human design. I spent like a whole day going, there's other things I really want to talk about. I really want to talk about sustainable development. I really want to talk about affordable housing. I really want to talk about how we're going to come together in communities in the quantum world. I'm done talking about human design. I walk into my office, and on the floor in my office is this. You can't see what this is, but this is a triangle shaped stamp from Czechoslovakia. It's sitting on my keyboard. Like, I did not put this here. I have no idea where it came from, but it is a stamp, a triangle shaped stamp from Czechoslovakia. So it does talk. I feel like it's this living thing, like it's sending me triangles throughout the course of time to remind me you're shackled to this triangle for life, lady. Don't, you just do it. Right. And so, my whole point being, it's alive. I think it's, you have probably all got, I think we all get to the point when we do chart readings. It's like you look at the chart, and it goes into you, and this person even without being able to go, oh, there's the gate 29. It's being highlighted by the sun in the third line. Like, you don't see that stuff. You see the whole being in this instant snapshot of how this person is. I don't like saying it's who, it's how this person is.
Yeah, God, I love that, how this person is. It does. It dances differently than it did when, I was like trying to fire hose the information and learn it all so that I would, be perfect in some way. And I always ask myself, perfect according to who, like really who am I measuring against? But no, I hear your passion in it, Karen, and it's quite magical. Monique and I don't usually prepare questions. It's not really how we roll. We don't feel like that's an authentic conversation of sorts. But it was really interesting because one of the things that I did feel called to ask you is how your journey in your career with human design has been. And I think you really put that together in a beautiful way. And yet I still feel like there's more to the story. Is there anything more that you would feel called to share as it relates to when you got in, how the journey has been? Because you're right, it's not wildly, or when you began 25 years ago, it wasn't well known. It's 2020 did us all a damn favor, right? It really brought it to surface. And so it is more mainstream now, for sure. And I can't imagine 25 years
I would
ago.
say we're not hanging out in the mainstream, so we probably don't know. But when Oprah calls me, I'll let you know that we hit the mainstream.
Okay.
So, or
Okay.
maybe Oprah's outdated at this point, but
Is Oprah ever going to be outdated? Like,
Yeah, no, I think
don't
Oprah counts
know.
as mainstream. So we're gonna keep that because that's one of my inner vision thoughts I have too. It's like when Oprah, like that's when we've hit the mark here.
when
That's what a
Meghan
lot.
Markle calls for a reading,
Oh my
be
God, I love her too.
right?
These are my people you're naming, Karen.
Love her.
So I mean, I don't know. I would just say that I don't know what to say about my career. I mean, I accidentally became a renegade, and I have an open solar plexus. I'm really nice. I have the 5027. I don't want to, I'm like, I'm just doing my thing over here, taking care of people. So I certainly would say my son is in the 29. That's probably where I'll start. My son is in the 29. When I say yes to something, it's really hard for me to turn that around into anything else. And even though I've had cycles and seasons where I'm definitely have been like, what the hell? I have an education. I'm like, I could be doing normal thing. I go to dinner parties with my husband, who is an architect. Is like, he has a title and like a real job title. And people are like, what do you do for a living? It's like, I hate that question. Um, But I'll say that something happened the very first time I saw a chart that when my first husband brought a chart back from Sedona, Arizona, and he showed me that chart. Literally, I felt the chart go into my heart and just set off like some kind of sacred temple bell in my soul. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And every step along that way was, divinely engineered and utterly magical. And I didn't realize at the time that was probably my sacral going off and not really my heart, but it felt like, well, my sacral is connected to my heart anyway. But it has been I feel like it's been a very sacred journey where I have stewardship over my part of the human design story. I don't have stewardship over Ra's story, but I have my own story with human design, as does everyone. And I feel like I have stewardship over this story, and it is sacred. And when I was 5, we just go down weird rabbit holes. When I was 5 and I went to kindergarten, I already knew how to read. And the kindergarten teacher was so confused. She had no idea what to do with me. And I also didn't nap. I never napped. It drove my mom crazy, right? And so like in kindergarten, they like put you down for a nap, and I guess they teach you how to read. And finally, the teacher decided that during nap time, I could read books. And then she gave me a magic wand. And my job at the end of nap time was to gently tap everybody on the head and say, wake up, wake up. And I feel like that's what human design is, that magic wand, right? And that I still have the job of being the wake up fairy. And I get to say, wake up, you're beautiful, you forgot. Wake up, you're amazing, you forgot. Wake up, you're powerful, you forgot. But it's okay, you're going to be okay. Right. And that feels like a pretty sacred journey.
Gosh, I think I'm gonna forever remember that one. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I love that. I love that your main sun gate is 29 because my main sun gate is 46. So I just feel like it feels nice. I love 29s. Jonah's a 46, 29 too. His main sun gate is 46 though. But I just love how, I've spent a lot of my life thinking, I've been saying this a lot recently. I've spent a lot of my life thinking I was a yes person. I used to say that about myself. I'm a yes person. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm the yes girl. Come to Monique. She's the yes girl. And learning I was a splenic projector and really tapping into myself, I'm like, I think I'm a no girl. I think I'm actually like a ick, yeah, no kind of person now that I'm really
Mhm.
tapping into my and so but I love to witness a 29 and like yourself, and it's so beautiful to hear you speak on it. I think it's hilarious, your triangle story about how the triangles just keep showing up for you. It's like, and I've been speaking to a lot of my sacral friends recently too about how their sacral responses annoy them sometimes. Like when they start to really tap into them and they start saying yes, that they're like, what am I even doing? Like, what? I don't even want to do that. I want to be, they're thinking about these other things they want to do, kind of like how you were saying. I want to talk
Yep.
about other things. I have other things I want to say. And I can like hear that. And it's like so interesting how the body still finds those triangles. I wonder if it's your defined head too, because Amy and I have open heads on this program. So we love a sexy defined head around here. And yeah, and then when you were bringing up the triangles, that's all I kept seeing is like the triangle on the top of your chart, the definition there. Um,
I
but
hadn't thought about that before, but that's interesting.
yeah, that's
It's
the first thing I saw.
I always teach that center is the divine interface center, right? It's where we connect to source. And so,
Um,
I definitely felt like, we talk about no choice in human design. I'm like, I had a choice. I could have been like, nope, not doing this. And I could have. It wouldn't have been a comfortable choice, but I could have said, no, I'm not doing this. But I think it definitely was sort of like it was a gentle reminder that you have a contract with source here and you came here and you said you would do this. So you can't get out of this contract, lady. So
yeah. And when you said you dreamt about the chart too, like speaking to you and stuff, I feel that feels like defined head stuff to me, right? Amy, what about you?
Oh yeah.
I
Yes.
don't know. It's not like that for me, my
Yeah.
it's
experience with it.
interesting. Well, and I would say I don't find that this was a very common thing with my early students. And I don't find that my students have that experience anymore. I even have one student who, for fun, came to class with foil on her head because she was like, I'm sick of this thing talking to me at night. And I was like, okay, you do you, boo. Um, so,
my God, that's so funny.
It makes me think of our beautiful friend Larry Armstrong, who, when he doesn't want the channeling to come through, he puts a hat on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, not open for business, dude. Like,
Interesting. Yeah.
I thought that was pretty powerful too. Yeah.
So did you, I want to ask how human design found you or how you found human design or something along that lines, because I don't know that I know your origin story. And then as you were speaking, I wrote down when your husband brought you a chart from Sedona. Is that how is that, or just, I guess
Yeah,
I'll just,
that's how the story goes. So
okay.
in 1999, I was a suburban housewife mom with 4 kids. They were like, I think they were like 7 and under. So there are a lot of them. And my poor open sacral, I have 2 manifesting generators. My first husband and I, we have 2 manifesting generators and 2 generators. And so he was dying. He was like, I gotta go somewhere, do something, get out of here. And I thought, oh, he's having a spiritual crisis. I'll send him to Sedona. So he went to Sedona and he stayed with this is an important part of the story because it comes back full circle this year. He stayed at a place called Back of Beyond Ranch with a man with a couple who were friends of ours, Michael and Amira Hamilton. And Michael gave him his chart, and then he brought his chart home to me, and he showed me his chart. And that's when, like I said, that temple bell went off inside of me. And I said, oh my God, I have to learn everything about this. I don't know what it is, but I need to learn everything about it. And so, this is like dial-up days and like, so I said, he said, well, let's move to Sedona. And I said, okay. So we put our house on the market right then. And I mean, like we cleaned it up and we put our house on the market 2 weeks later. And within 2 days, we sold the house. We packed up the kids, the dog, everything. We packed everything up, put it all in the car and drove to Sedona to live. And when we got there, my youngest son had an ear infection. And so I took him to the pediatrician's office. And when I came out of the pediatrician's office, I've got this little kid on my hip. And across the hallway from the pediatrician's office was a door. And there was, of course, a triangle on the door, the body graph. And I thought, well, I'm just going to go in here and see what this is. So I opened the door, and this was the headquarters for Human Design America. There was a tiny little woman with white hair sitting behind a huge desk that was Marianne Winiger. And she said to me, oh, did you come for the job? And I said, yeah. And so she literally hired me there on the spot. So I got to work for Human Design America, and I got to Marianne was so into making beautiful materials. She made beautiful manuals and beautiful books and packaged everything lovingly. So, and she had a printer right there in the office. So I did a lot of work putting courses and materials together to mail. We were mail. There was no MP3 players and stuff there yet. And I got to study and learn. And of course, Ra came to the United States during, right around that time, a little bit later after that. And I got to, as somebody working for Human Design America, I got to study with Ra and learn from Ra and spend time with Ra. And it was an amazing experience. So that was how it started.
Wow. I'm so glad that I asked probed a little there. I thought that you got to interact with Ross. So you did get to learn from for a while. That's so cool. It's so mind blowing to think about how long you've been in the system. And I feel like I can understand like how, well, no, I mean, like in terms of like how you're saying, like, I'm like, wanting to move away from this, wanting to like do something like I could feel that. Like, I feel like I would feel similar, like, okay, like, da-da. And I mean, you've evolved so much and gone so many different directions with it. And at the conference you were speaking, one of your talks really hit for Amy and I. What was it called? I think it was your second one that you did. Was it about the ego? I think it was
That
about
was
the
the first
ego.
one. That
First
was
one. Sorry.
healing the will, the missing piece of the solar
Yes.
presentation. Yeah.
It was you said a lot of things in that discussion where I was like, wow, this is like, it felt like evolved human design a little bit to me, like some of the concepts, and I don't know a lot about quantum things, and human design. I do believe is like my system. I think I'm going to be one of those people that stays in this lane. Well, I'm a 1-4. I'm pretty fixed, right? But I really appreciate when I hear these expansive, especially, I don't know, from like I said, a defined defined head and ajna like yours. It stays in there. And there's certain things that you said in that discussion. I wish I could remember specifically. Do you remember any of them? Maybe because we were talking about it after, I remember.
Well, if I didn't have antibiotics in my system from a sinus infection, maybe I would. But right now,
I'm trying to see if any are coming to me. Okay, that's okay if they don't. But if you have anything that you want to say on that topic, if anything comes to you that you feel a response to say more about, please do.
was wildly expansive. So whatever you feel called to share will benefit the collective for sure.
Well, I would say to me, and this is again human design through the lens of Karen, to me, the purpose of human design is to be a tool to help us usher in this new era. You know, I am very much a believer that the shadow side of how some of the solar plexus mutation information has been presented isn't accurate in my viewpoint. And it's actually one of the reasons why I left traditional human design. Like when I heard the traditional solar plexus mutation information, literally my sacral was like, this is not right. This is not right. And to me, it felt like I could not spend my life preparing for an apocalypse. You know, I grew up in a war. I spent many years in Beirut, Lebanon before we had to eventually evacuate. You know, I take war and violence and killing very seriously. I feel like I don't have a theoretical lens on that. I have a real-time lens on what that looks like and feels like and is like. And I feel like it's such a base nature of the potential of the human story. And I do really feel and have always felt that we are on the cusp of a creative revolution to the, you know, that's going to be the fulfillment of the potential of the human story. And there have been things along the way in the story that I've had with Rod that he's said certain things that really made me think there's another side to this solar plexus mutation story. For example, one of the things that he used to say is that we're not actually born yet as a species, that we are still basically growing in the womb of the mother, and that when the solar plexus mutation happens, we'll actually be born into the full potential of the human species, and we're not there yet. And I think, you know, the full potential of the human species, if we really break the chart down and you look at what's the source of our direction and our identity, it's the G, which is love, right? And when we look at the electromagnetic resonance field of the G center and the fact that it mirrors the electromagnetic resonance center of the electromagnetic resonance field of the planet. And Ross said the G contains unifying energy. Well, what is the unifying energy? It's love, right? So we're like bonded and bound to this, you know, a giant magnetic force field of love, and it binds us to the earth. It binds us to each other. It probably binds us to our right place in the cosmos. It can't be rooted in destruction. It can't be rooted in, I don't know, whatever. I have some kind of ancient memory in my soul about witnessing the destruction of this world other times. And I feel like we're not doing it this time. We kind of got it. We figured out like, hey, if we push this button, we blow each other up. It's dumb. Let's not do it again, because starting over is really annoying. And let's just get to the good part. Right. And so I feel like we're getting to the good part, and that, you know, my life is a metaphor. My very first job was a midwife. I feel like I'm midwifing a new world. And I just went down a huge rabbit hole. I have no idea where I am in my tangent now. But but I think that when we look at what's next and we look at human design and the role that it plays in what's next, I think human design is a tool to help us love each other. And when we can really look at a chart and see your part, like see my partner, I'll simply talk about in the context of my husband, right? My husband has the 3955. He loves his 3955. Like he just like, you know, he's like, if you think about Johnny Appleseed spreading apple seeds, like he's like spreading provocation everywhere he goes. It's really, he enjoys it, right? And I'm an open emotional solar plexus person with an open root center. He starts doing that stuff and I'm like, right, you're pressuring me, and you know, I just want you to stop doing that and be nice. Like, right? It's like it's a thing. And in the beginning of our relationship, I was like really concerned, like, I am in love with an asshole. What is going on here? Like, and then I went, oh, he's not an asshole. He's just provocative. And he's actually really not an asshole at all. He's a very, very loving, beautiful human being. And I feel pretty lucky to have him as my partner. And he's provocative. and and also he is not into human design. So he doesn't necessarily feel like his provocation is a problem and that he needs to decondition it. He just enjoys it. So I can look at him and I can see him for who he is. And I can really be with that provocation now and see it for what it is. And I can see how it has a purpose. He's an urban designer. He's really into affordable housing. He does a lot of work with affordable housing and sits on the city council. And when he goes to the city council meetings, that 3955 comes out and he's poking at everybody and everybody's like, right. And it's actually important because he calls them on their bullshit and he tells them you're scarcity thinking and you're not thinking expansively enough and you're not having faith and we need to have a bigger vision, right? He's pushing in the ways that 3955 can push, and it's beautiful. So human design is a tool to teach us how to love each other. And I think, it's also a tool to help us heal our own selves, our own connection to the preciousness of who we are. And I will die with this idea as my banner, as my battle cry, right? That when we all know our value, when we can all literally understand that there's nothing you have to do to prove your value. You don't have to have a certain bra size, pant size, income, years of education. You are valuable. You are inherently valuable because you exist and you are an integral part of a whole. And when you start to realize, oh, I am a once in a lifetime cosmic event. I am inherently precious because I exist. And my story, the story of who I am, is essential to the evolution of the world, is essential to the story that is humanity. You will instantly go, oh, well, if that's true for me, then that's true for you, and it's true for you, and it's true for you, and it's true for your kids, and your kids, and your kids, and your kids. And now we start making decisions from a very different place because now we're treating each other as if we're precious. And if I'm looking at you and I'm saying, oh, you're precious, how do we take care of precious things, right? We take care of them, we protect them, we nurture them, we put them in cushioned boxes, right? Not boxes, maybe that's a bad metaphor, but we provide for them. We make sure they're safe. We start making decisions that is rooted in that preciousness of humanity. And now it can never be okay to make a decision around killing somebody else's child or taking food away from somebody else's child or not educating and supporting and loving and nurturing people for who they are and how they are. That is, to me, the lever that moves us into the solar plexus mutation. And if we don't finish that work, which I think it's up for us right now, we're looking at our ancestral programming and clearing our ancestral trauma so that we no longer keep ourselves from seeing our value and other people's values. We are renegotiating all of our narratives and all of our definitions. And it's a challenging time because we're at the end of a systems growth cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. But this new cycle is going to be amazing. If we build a world rooted on our inherent value, our inherent preciousness, it's going to be an amazing world, an amazing world.
I'm here for that. That was
Mm-hmm.
fantastically shared.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so grateful that I was just sitting here witnessing it all unfolding. Monique and I together make the 3955.
Yeah.
And as you were sharing those things, I think we do a lot for each other that you just shared that is very beneficial to our very existence individually and, as a podcast duo. So it was just a really beautiful way to look at the value that this system has to be able to articulate the uniqueness that each of us holds, and that we are worthy and deserving because we are. Period.
Yeah, I've been saying that so much lately. You got here, you took a breath, and you got here. That's it. You did it. We did it. The rest is bonus. Whatever happens next is a bonus. But and it's yeah, I love that you use the 3955 as an example too, because I have the 55 in my undefined solar plexus. I, like you, have an undefined solar and an undefined root, and Amy brings her excessively defined root and her defined solar plexus to the table, to the party. And all of a sudden, that's why I'm usually the one crying on all of our episodes. I'm usually the one that's getting all like provoked and pushed, but what we bring to the table together often for others when we do readings together, we offer these duo readings when we do our courses together. I think there is this really nice provocation of spirit that happens, naturally, and that gets to be the gift, and we get to see it as a gift again because of the system, because of all of the parts of myself that I didn't like, all of the reasons I didn't like myself before learning the system revolved around projector wounding. All of them. All of them. I mean, I immediately loved myself more when learning the system immediately. And we say all the time on this show about how the system offers a deep, it gives us a deep compassion for ourselves and a realization of, like you said, we are a piece, we have the divine right inside of us all. We all, however you want to look at that or feel into that, but and for each other immediately, compassion for each other, like you said. There's no two ways about that. It just happens immediately, and coming from that place is just it's so different, like you said, and it can be scary or vulnerable or challenging in this world to come at it from that I'm precious and everybody else is too, and I have an open heart and
Yeah,
everybody
but
else.
that's only because the world needs to be deconditioned. And that's
Yeah,
why each personal story is so important. Because in the second cycle of deconditioning the will, we start deconditioning this stupid story of like there's some hierarchy of personal value. There isn't.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I agree with that. I can't wait for the world to get there. And I love that we are the ones that get to, help talk about these things and bring them to the table and to the conversations. And I'm really grateful for everything that you've shared today and just your presence in general. Your the way that you share is both digestible and informative and light and fun and still so all of the things
Not,
that we
I'm
like.
very serious. This is very, very serious.
I loved it earlier when you said I'm supposed to be funny, and I was like, wait, wait, wait. No, you're supposed to be exactly who you decide to be.
Yeah, I
Exactly what
mean,
you chose for yourself. And if parts of that is funny and parts of that is serious and parts of that is direct and parts of that is elusive, they're all beautiful. So
and Amy and I have serious MG envy on this program. We always joke, we're like, well, I always joke, I'm like, in my next life, I think I'm going to be an MG. I think I'm going to work out that deal with the
It
universe.
has its own hiccups. Like I'll tell you what, and I want to, and I'm sorry, I do have to watch the time because I have another session. But here's the thing: as a manifesting generator, moving through the obstacles in the doorways that other people lay for you, and I mean dogs, backpacks, bags of groceries, husbands trying to give you hugs. That is the very definition of hell, and you will never be nice again in a doorway. So you guys can stand in doorways. Maybe you not so much, Amy, because you've got that manifestor energy too. But it's like you live in this constant state of flow, and it's not verbal, and it's very hard to explain to people what you're doing, and they're always standing in your way, and it's annoying as hell. So think about that the next time you have manifesting generator envy. All right.
I
And
will. I will. I will. And thank you for that. I love when I said that to one of my manifester friends, they were like, girl, MGs are messy. You don't want that. And I'm like, oh, never really thought about that one either. But okay. I see what you're saying here. My projector sees. So yes, there's always ways to look at this, and the grass is always greener. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and for everything that you've shared with us. And is there anything else that you want to say? How can people, I mean, I'm sure people can find you. You're Karen Curry Parker. I think they know how to find you at
yeah.
this point,
that's so
right?
embarrassing. Yeah.
No, it's not. Be proud. God, I would be so proud. I'd be like, yeah, I am.
Yeah, I am. Okay. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. You can go find my books. You can go to my
Yeah.
website, quantumhumandesign.com, and come hang out with me. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you both very much. I appreciated our conversation, and I love your vibe. I love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Oh,
you. Me
thank you for
too.
that. We have loved our time together with you today, Karen. It has been such a blessing, such a gift. And I'm going to sit with a lot of things you said for a while. It's just like that's the gift of listening to someone else's perspective and their
Mhm.
journey with it. I have an open head, so I want to hear those things. And then, I also have an open G. And so I want to go inward and discern, what feels right and most aligned for me. And I think this system is one of the very things that empowers us to do that. So grateful for the time that you offered us. And we always remind our guests to love yourself. And we love you, Karen. I love you, Monique. And we're grateful for all the listeners that we have. And until next time, bye for now.
Bye.